are you doing now? She said, well, I decided that what would be really great, Dad, would be to open my own shop on Second Life. I said, why are you going to do that then? She said, well, I've been to a virtual real estate agent, and they found me a property on a high street. And she said, and I've got enough money saved up from the wages I earned to take out a 3-month lease on a shop. I said, well, she said, yeah, so do you want to, so we went along and we had a look at this shop, you see, and there it was. I said, this is my shop. It was empty, virtual, empty. I said, but I'm just getting the clothes together. I'm going to open my shop next week. So again, my daughter hadn't waited to be taught through an economics or business studies lesson about the nature of buying or leasing a property to set up a business. Somebody online had taught her how to do that. So I went away and forgot it. A few months later, I came back. I said, how's it going with your shop on Second Life? She said, amazing. Do you want to see? I said, I'd love to. So we went on to Second Life together. And the other thing that then happened at this point, by the way, was, for those of you that are familiar with Second Life, you'll know that you can travel anywhere in split seconds. Now, it took me 7.5 hours to get here yesterday, right? It takes you about 7.5 seconds to get from London to Lahore in Second Life, okay? Now, one of the other things, therefore, about our children as consumers is this. They are the on-demand generation. Now, whether we like it or not, whether we think about it morally, they expect everything now, and they can have it. Right? They want to communicate with somebody in Australia, they do it in microseconds. They want to download music from the internet. They don't have to wait for a record or a CD to come out. They download it immediately. There is an immediacy to our children, which means they're even more complicated consumers than they ever have been. They want this stuff now, and there's an immediacy, which again is a challenge, isn't it, as a profession? How do we deal with that level of thinking from our new consumers? So my daughter takes me to this shop. The shop she takes me to, however, is not the shop she originally showed me. We are now in a tropical paradise. I said, this isn't your original shop. She said, no, this is my new shop. I said, what happened to your first shop? So I've still got my first shop. I said, what? She said, it started making so much money that I visited an online financial consultant who told me to invest my profits in opening another shop to expand my business, to increase my footfall, and the number. This is the way my 14-year-old daughter's talking. To increase my footfall, to get more customers through my doors buying my product. I'm like my jaw's on the floor now. I'm thinking I'll be able to retire soon. She could see how impressed I was, and she said, but that's not the best bit, Dad. The best bit is that yesterday I signed the lease on a third shop in virtual London. Now here's the point. My daughter apparently is rubbish at math. She's running a scalable business that she set up, and within 6 months she's got 3 shops trading. And the point is, my daughter isn't special in that way. She's not academically gifted, right? She is a standard, typical teenager who is using the internet to access the things she needs. And forgive me, if I got 1 or 2 minutes, I'd just like to finish with a reflection on creativity. I know I'm running out of time. I'm just looking at the audience. Is that okay if I just speak? Are people happy for me to do another minute or 2? You sure? Good. Let me find the right bit then. This was all very interesting. I need to move forwards to my final. There we go. Here we go. I want to finish with this because I've heard this talked about a lot. Not just today, but around the world. 2 minutes, thank you. I've heard this talked about a lot, and it worries me. It really worries me. Not just in education, by the way, but because of the way the world is at the moment, everyone's talking about this term creativity as though it's the solution. Like it's the silver bullet to the answer to all the problems of the world is we've got to be more creative. We need to teach people to be more creative. We need to be more creative. In schools, we need a more creative curriculum. You see, the first concern I have about this word, and I have to say, and this is probably shocking for somebody that's supposed to be an expert on creativity, I have no idea what the word means. People are now looking at me thinking, why did we bring him here? What I mean by that is, I think this is an overused word. And the problem is, because it's so overused, I think it now has a million different meanings. We could ask the room, and I bet everyone in this room would have a slightly different take or connotation on what that word means. For me, it's a bit like the word love. you know? Like love today is used in so many different contexts. I'm not really sure anyone really knows what it means anymore. For example, and I'll confess this because my wife, and I love my wife, is a long way away, right? Here's a question about love, right? Now, I love my wife. I also love chocolate. Is that the same thing? You know where I'm coming from. Creativity. So here it is. Here's what it means to me. You see, I think creativity in education is far more fundamental. Well, you can't teach it, let's be clear. You can't teach creativity. You can't have a creativity syllabus. Because the thing for me is we are all born creative, every single one of us. It's why human beings have evolved at the extraordinary rate we have. It's part of human intelligence. Creativity, in my mind, is that ability to find something of interest, to have the courage or confidence once you've found that thing of interest, to go, I wonder what I could do with it. Let's hypothesize, let's play, let's experiment, let's see where this could go. And then as a result of that, to find new solutions and opportunities, new knowledge, new things. That to me is creativity. Well, actually, isn't that the same thing as learning? This fascinates me, because to me, learning and creativity actually are the same thing. And the reason I say we're born creative is if you think about it, young children are intensely creative beings, aren't they? There are statistics and research that say we learn 80 to 85% of everything we learn in our lifetime, we learn before we're 5 years of age. It's a fascinating thought, isn't it? Also fascinating, because what happens when we're 5 years of age? We start to introduce children to formal learning. It's interesting, isn't it? So the point is, and by the way, have you ever met a 9-month-old child that sat next to a pile of crinkly paper, goes, actually, I'm not very creative. Could you show me what to do with that, please? You don't, do you? Because children dive in. They play with stuff. They experiment. They stick things in their mouth. They just instinctively want to find out and research and hypothesize. And that's why they learn at such an accelerated. So where does it go? I'll give you an example. I often show these images to groups of adults. And I say, what is it? Now, the thing is, because of our education, we're taught that what we have to do, the education system teaches us, that the currency of being grown up and clever is to exhibit, is to demonstrate you can get things right. Everything is about getting things right. Logic becomes the currency by which most people measure success and intellect, right? So you show that to a room full of adults, and what they start to do is they try to unpick the image to find the right answer. So they go, blue is water, brown is land. Green could be pollution, could be algae. Hold on, I think it's sulfurous. I definitely think it's sulfurous, because that looks like a larval flow. I think that's somewhere volcanic. Oh, and there's a hot spring in the corner of it. I think that's definitely a volcano. And so they're going on and on and on, right? And they end up going, that's Yellowstone National Park. Now, you show that to a room full of 6- or 7-year-old children, and the most common answer I get is it's the face of an old man or an evil wizard. The point is this, children aren't looking for the right answer. They're immersing themselves in the experience and just enjoying the discovery process. Now, when you take that on to the next point, okay, you say, well, what's the story behind the picture? And you give a room full of adults 20 seconds to come up with a story, and they look at you in blind panic. You do that with a group of young children. My favorite story from a group of 6-year-olds who after 30 seconds of talking to one another said, well, there is an evil wizard, and the evil wizard is off the top corner. You can't see them because they're just out of the photograph. But the evil wizard is sucking all of the color out of the earth. And the people on the bridge are brave soldiers, and it's their job to stop the world from becoming black and white. Next question. How amazing is that? And my final two thoughts, just very quickly, so you can see it. Let me see if there you go. That is another image. This, by the way, is from a book called Earth from the Air, filled with images like this. What a way to teach children, eh? Just an image like that, you could have hours of conversation and learning. That's date drying in the Cairo Basin. My favorite explanation from a group of infant children, that group of people are building a bed quilt for a giant. Not lovely. So where does it go? And here's my final thought. That's where it goes. If we're serious about the future of education, I think actually our task is very simple. We need to deal with one concept above everything else. It's the notion of risk. Because it strikes me that this process of learning disappears as we get older, because as we get older, we become more and more risk averse. Because what society teaches us is that getting things wrong is bad. So as we get older, what we tend to do is we live within the confines of what we know we can get right. Most people live their adult lives, don't they? Living in a world where they know they're in control of everything they do. We do less and less adventuring, less and less exploring. And that's because as a child we're taught from those days of absorbing ourselves in anything, understanding that that wasn't a volcano but it was the face of an old man. The magic of the learning journey. As we get older, we start to realize we can't live in that world anymore because suddenly, like a poker game, it's too much like high stakes. Suddenly, we can't take the risk. And here's my final point for you, ladies and gentlemen, this morning. If there's one thing I think I've learned in my time as an educator, I think I've learned this. You learn nothing new from getting something right. You only ever learn something new from the point of a mistake or the realization that you can't do or don't know something. And surely the core gift we can give to our children is to understand that that's the magical moment. We must celebrate mistake makers because it's at that point that we can learn something new and different. And surely that has to be the core to the future if our children aren't just to survive in the world they're entering, but they're to thrive in it. Thank you so much for doing me the honor of inviting me here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gerver, for sharing such moving and inspiring experiences from your journey as an educator with us.